Ever since he started working on Earth, he's been hearing a rumor from the detectives in the police department. It's a rumor that there's a detective known as Ghost in the Central Police Violent Crime Department, because he catches even criminals from cold cases on top of his own cases, has an arrest rate of 200%. And so all sorts of heinous criminals would become meek lambs in front of Ghost. This rumor has already become a legend to all the police in the area. Lee knows that there are even rumors he rejected a promotion because he wants to fully devote himself to groundwork. Asked if he's the newbie who just joined, he affirms formally and is told that there's no need to be so tense as they're all family now, and is given a coffee. Lee reports that the department chief told him that he'd be moving with Detective Sung, and realizing it's Ghost, Ben 10 explains that no one ever knows where he is, which is why they gave him that nickname. And eventually, the other police stations also called him that. He adds that the coffee he gave Lee was supposed to be for Ghost. Speak of the devil, there he is. Senior asks if everything is going well, and Jin affirms, asking if that's the newbie. Saying he'll go teach him a few things first, he carries him off as Lee wonders if he's angry for drinking his coffee and asks where they're going. Jin asks why he became a police officer, to which he responds that he wanted to catch bad guys. Jin says that's what they're going to do right now, adding that why he became a police officer as well. He asks if Lee's coming too, which he affirms while thinking that he can't believe he's learning to catch criminals with the Ghost. A few days later, they wonder why he looks half dead. Someone heard he's in that state because he followed Detective Sung to catch criminals for a whole day. Jin thinks that since he had experience catching armed robbers while being unarmed, teaching him was worth it. But Igris advises that he should leave Eshi mental tasks to them. A woman tells the detective that Jin is not someone who'd commit suicide, but the detective explains how all the evidence points to otherwise. She then shows him a text and asks if it looks like a text from someone who'd commit suicide in 3 hours. However, the frustrated detective tells her that self-killings are usually done on impulse than planned. Jinwoo asks if he can take a look, which makes the detective tell him not to make things difficult for him. This side story continues. After Jin takes files and reads over them, a woman was found dead in the bathtub due to a huge wound on her wrist and excessive blood loss. The knife that was used to slit her wrist was found in the bathroom, and the only fingerprints found in that area were the deceased's own fingerprints. While the deceased usually appeared to have a cheerful personality, she actually had depression. Jin states that nothing is strange here, but even so, he'll go take a look. He introduces himself and asks to talk for a moment while the detective notes that the Ghost has caught yet another scent. At an apartment, in a room, a shadow forms as Jin Woo arrives. Looking to the bathroom, the sink, the room, the tub, blood splattered. He used to need corpses in the past, but arise, he says. A girl rises from death and grows scared, but Jin tells her not to be afraid, as the current her is an existence that has escaped from the bridle of life and suffering. Asking if she took her own life, she affirms, and Jin asks why. Knocking at an apartment, a man questions who's here at this hour. Jin to the camera announces himself, saying he has some questions in regards to his daughter's case and asks to talk for a while. The man frantically asks if the results are out and questions how she died. Jin says they still haven't found out yet, but he'd like to ask a few questions about his daughter. Asking him elsewhere, the man agrees, stating that if he can help in any way in regards to his daughter's death, he'll do it. At the Arangrol Cafe, Jin asks what kind of student she was and if he knows of anyone who might have a grudge against her, but he disaffirms, explaining that she's not the kind who'd do anything to cause others to hate her, and she's a really kind and innocent child. Breaking down, he apologizes since he's still in disbelief that his daughter would commit seppuku. Jin remarks that it seems he loved her a lot, and he affirms he's sure detectives already knew, but she's not his real daughter. That's why he loved her like a real daughter. No, he loved her even more than a real daughter. Jin shares that they discovered an audio file among her belongings and asks that he listens. Listening to the file, this side story continues. Listening back, that's the evidence of the horrible abuse that she has suffered from her adoptive father since she was young. She escaped far away, but her adoptive father kept sending messages like, "I miss you" to her, and in the end, she chose death. He questions the reason for letting him hear this, since if he intended to arrest him, he could have just brought a few more officers and slapped cuffs on. But Jin gives him two choices. One would be to admit to all his crimes and turn himself in, or in return for not admitting to his crimes, he can pay a reasonable price. With malicious eyes, he asks, how much is enough? To which Jin responds, that's enough, suddenly telling him to listen listen up. Jin informs him that the place that he's sitting in right now isn't the world that he lives in, but a different world which he had temporarily made to look like the outside world. A land of the dead that the living can't step into without the permission of the owner. It's the territory of the eternal rest. That's also the name of the place that he'll be imprisoned in from now on. The man questions what Detective Jin is talking about, but is only told to think carefully. Does he remember how he came here? The man flips. He also realizes that the lights of this cafe are turned on so brightly, but no one is there except them. He starts freaking out before questioning the detective is and suggesting this is all a dream. The man runs, but a shadow attacks, grabbing and stabbing through his body. Jin sits there as his arm flings by, then still sits there until the dead girl thanks him. Jin asks if there's anything else she wants to say, and asks for one more favor if it's not too much of an inconvenience. Back at the station, Jin presents a wrapped gift box to Jin's sister. He asks if the name on the letter isn't hers, and suggests that the box should go to its owner. Based on the circumstances, it's highly unlikely that it's a murder, so the investigation will come to an end soon. Unwrapping the gift, she shakes while holding the ribbon and thanks Jin Woo 1 hour before she cut her wrist. If she hadn't received that indecent message from her adoptive father, would the both of them have been able to enjoy the birthday party together? This side story continues. Announcing his proposal to Gina, he shocks Jin Woo and states that he's really serious, and today is the day he'll do it. But will Gina like this ring? Jin says he doesn't know about these things, and Jin-ho dismisses it, saying he didn't know what she'd like, so he prepared all sorts of gifts. Well, actually, he's building a hospital in one of his company's plots of land, so when Gina finishes medical school, she can work there, which shocks Jin since the estimated price for a building is 30 billion won. That's 21 million in USD. Jin-ho wonders how he could know this, but we remember in a flashback that's what he was offered to join his dad's guild. Jin says that he doesn't have to try so hard with these things as he's a great guy and only has to be himself. He asks if it's okay to hug and is denied, but leaps over the table anyway. At a house, Jin Woo walks in announcing he's home and is greeted by a freaking baby and Mommy Cha, who asks if he went out for drinks, and Jin affirms, saying Jin-ho had something important to tell him. Saying it looks like Suho is as energetic as ever, Cha affirms he just had a long nap. Jin wonders what's wrong with them as Bellion questions what he means. They shouldn't teach the little lord sword skills, but Igris responds that in this world, your grades are your skills. However, Jin Woo interjects that sword skills and studies are both alright, but it should wait until he at least takes his first steps, which prompts Cha to point out that Jin should come home earlier as well, at least until the baby takes his first steps. This side story continues. Announcing his proposal to Gina, he shocks Jin Woo and states that he's really serious, and today is the day he'll do it. But will Gina like this ring? Jin says he doesn't know about these things, and Jin-ho dismisses it, saying he didn't know what she'd like, so he prepared all sorts of gifts. Well, actually, he's building a hospital in one of his company's plots of land, so when Gina finishes medical school, she can work there, which shocks Jin since the estimated price for a building is 30 billion won. That's 21 million in USD. Jin-ho wonders how he could know this, but we remember in a flashback that's what he was offered to join his dad's guild. Jin says that he doesn't have to try so hard with these things as he's a great guy and only has to be himself. He asks if it's okay to hug and is denied, but leaps over the table anyway. At a house, Jin Woo walks in announcing he's home and is greeted by a freaking baby and Mommy Cha, who asks if he went out for drinks, and Jin affirms, saying Jin-ho had something important to tell him. Saying it looks like Suho is as energetic as ever, Cha affirms he just had a long nap. Jin wonders what's wrong with them as Bellion questions what he means. They shouldn't teach the little lord sword skills, but Igris responds that in this world, your grades are your skills. However, Jin Woo interjects that sword skills and studies are both alright, but it should wait until he at least takes his first steps, which prompts Cha to point out that Jin should come home earlier as well, at least until the baby takes his first steps. This side story continues. After Jin had a frickin' kid, he goes to the station and asks the chief what he was called for. The chief heard he's still interfering in other officers' cases and is asked to keep it to a degree where the others won't start disliking him. Hunter Sung, Jin Chul says. Jin says he's not a hunter anymore, to which Jin Chul responds that he's still more comfortable with calling him that. More importantly, the chief says the father of a woman who committed suicide disappeared a couple days ago and asks if he knows anything about this, to which he disaffirms. Coincidentally, when he went missing missing, all the CCTVs around his house had errors. He states that whatever Jin does, he trusts him, and it's not the reason he called him. Giving him a card, Jin Chul says that he feels like he'd want to know. President Go Gun-hee. No, Chairman Go Gun-hee is in a critical state. At a hospital, in Go Gun-hee's room, Jin Woo teleports. Chairman Go opens his eyes and looks over before pointing to his mask. Jin lifts it off and Gun-hee mutters that it's good to see him. He's actually been looking for him for a while. Jin offers to cure his illness, but he says that he's lived a long life and did everything he had to do during the 10 years Jin granted him, and that's enough. He actually has a favor to ask. Back then, he said, that there was a world where he fought alongside him, right? Could he show him that world? Show Chairman Go how he was back then. He wants to know how he looked and how Jin looked as well. Jin responds that those may be memories that he does not want to recall. But Gun-hee dismisses it, saying he just wants to rediscover the memories that he's lost. Go just stares at him and Jin lets up. Touching him on the wrist and grabbing him, his eyes are awakened. Memories flood of their introduction. Talk of the Jeju raid. Jin Woo's plans for his own guild. Chairman Go grabs his chest as more memories of the post-Jeju Island raid play. His fight with the Frost Monarch and the memories of his death. Reaching out for Jin Woo, he says that with him, he once again. He's so with young heroes like him, he overcome by everything. In the warmth of this sunlight, even if he became a cold corpse, this honor will be in his memories forever, with great warmth. The monitor flatlines as Jin stands overhead and wipes his tears, telling him to rest in peace. Go Gun-hee, who sacrificed for many, are also a hero. Later on, Jin answers his phone in the park where Cha tells him that Suho is. There Suho is. He's flipping flying. She tells him that Suho is flying around the house right now. She asks what to do as a replay of Jinho saying, since he's Jin's kid, he'd think he would have been running around right after birth. Jin says it's fine and not to worry, as he'll teach him how to fly step by step. When fall comes, winter follows. Then so does spring. Everything has a beginning and an end, and another beginning that arises from that end. Jin says that he'll be home early today. It seems like winter is far away for their household. This side story continues.